Now we are going to see about the VPC. VPC refers to the virtual private cloud. So this is used to maintain private cloud networks, unlike the public cloud networks. Assume that we have many droplets. We can create as many droplets as we want. And then each droplet has a particular function. Like one can be used as a main instance, so another can be used as database instance, and then another can be used as proxy instance. The In order to get the maximum out of this, then what we have to do is that we should be make sure that these can communicate with each other. These like database instance should be able to communicate with proxy instance, and the proxy instance can be able to communicate with main instance, and the main instance can able to communicate with database instance. And so in order to do all of these things, virtual private cloud plays a major role. This will help in establishing a relation between all these three instances, so that if we first establish a relationship between among all these things, then we can share the information. And the virtual private cloud, this is provided by the DigitalOcean itself. So many other cloud networks won't provide it on their own. We have to separately configure these settings, and then we have to separately set up all these things in the other cloud. But thankfully, to the DigitalOcean website, it will provide all the necessary configuration, and then just we have to set that these things up according to our use. So if we go to our account in the DigitalOcean, which is on the left dashboard, we can see all our instances present. Currently, we don't have any instances as we haven't created anything. And then we can create, and then we can interact with all these things. So if you see here at the down, you can see here the database instance, and then we can use spaces, and then we can use the load balancers. So first we're gonna create a droplet, and we can create more than one droplet, and we are going to make to communicate one droplet with another droplet. So here we have resources setting, and then activity, and then settings, and then we can manage whether we can manage droplets, all the droplets. We can either create them or we can delete them. So this virtual private, this is the main function of the virtual private cloud. The main function is that we should make sure that the two instances should be able to communicate with each other, so that in order to get the work done. Creating a virtual and creating a droplet, just we can click on the get started with a droplet button here. So this gonna prompt to another page where we can set the various things up in order to create a droplet. It's gonna ask various things like the location, and then the type, and then the IP addresses available, and then how many IP addresses you want in order to do this. All these things we can set all these things up. So I created this. I clicked on this button, and then I have moved into a new web page. It's loading. Yeah, you can see here it's default on Ubuntu. I'm going to keep it on Ubuntu itself. And then you can see various settings like here authentication, and then the VPC network. VPC network is initially uh, dealt with no VPC. And then this private network has to be created. Like if you don't create a private network, then you are going to use public network in order to communicate between two instances, like main instance and the database instance. But it's gonna take much time, and it's gonna waste so much bandwidth. So to avoid all these things, we have to create a private network. So here I'm gonna change from no VPC to private network, so that the speed will be more, and the data is utilized efficiently, and then we can do the things faster. So the communication between the two instances is proper. Here I'm gonna select from no VPC to the no VPC to any private network that has been actually created by me, so that I can use this as I want. And then here the location is asked where we have to create droplets. And my friend in the previous video has created the droplets on the San Francisco location. So I'm gonna use the same thing. And then here it is going to ask authentication. On which type of authentication do you want? Do you want either password to do you want the authentication using password or the SSH keys? I'm gonna leave it as it is, which is on SSH keys, because it's more secure than using the password. And then we can select the additional options like IPv6, user data, and monitoring. On to the actual VPC page, and then we can see how to create a VPC network. The main success of the DigitalOcean is that all the functions of the DigitalOcean network is documented. So if you have any issue in creating a instance, or if you have any issue in configuring or setting up all the instances, it can all be done using the documentation. So it won't have any problem, and we can do this very easily. And each VPC is priced with something, with some value. So if you want to create a VPC and then you are going to use it, then you have to pay for it. And then it has, as I said, it is a documented website, so you can take this and use it in order to, if you have any doubts. Here they have given how VPC works, a nice video on how VPC works and how DigitalOcean has implemented in order to create these VPCs. If we go into the home page, then we can select our account and then we can see what are the droplets created. Here we haven't created even one droplet also. So what we are going to do now is that we are going to create more than one droplet and we are going to make the communication happen between them. In order to do this, you are going to select the VPC section in the networking tab. This networking tab is tab contains VPC. So in this VPC, there are already created VPCs which are in the destinations New York, San Francisco, and Amsterdam. These are the VPCs that were created by friends. These can be seen in the previous video that has been posted by my friends. And then we have to configure the IP range. Like now I'm going to say, take the data center region as San Francisco 2 because that has been previously used by my friend. So I'm going to build up on the same those things. So it will be easy. So it gives various instances like in Asia, it gives the data center regions as Singapore and Bangalore. And in the Europe, it gives the data center regions as London, Amsterdam 3, and then Frankfurt. And then in North America, it is going to give the data center regions as New York 1, New York 2, and then New York 3, and then San Francisco 1, San Francisco 2, San Francisco 3, and then Toronto. So in all these data center regions, we can create a droplets. So we should be make sure that we are going to create the droplets in the same region so that the communication between them is easy, because creating droplets and using them is like occupying a physical space in the server. If they are between each, they are near, so that the communication between them is easy. If they are created at two different places, then we are again going to need the internet in order for the communication between the two droplets. This is again waste. So what we are going to do is that we are going to create two droplets in the same region. Like we can create either two in Bangalore or either two or more in Singapore, or both in London, or both in New York, or both in San Francisco. Previously, my friend has created these droplets in the San Francisco 2 region. So I'm going to create the other droplets too in the same region so that it's going to be easy. So I have selected here San Francisco 2, and then I have to configure the private IP range. So this IP range will be dedicated to me by the DigitalOcean. So actually DigitalOcean reserves some IP addresses of all the total IP addresses available. And from this, it's gonna allocate some to us so that for the in order for smooth function. So here it provides two options, whether we can select, we can configure our own IP range, or we can generate an IP range that will be generated by the DigitalOcean team. So the recommended system is that it's gonna generate IP range that has been free and can be used by us. And once our tenure is done, it will be set free and it can be used by some other else. So we can either configure or we can generate. Here the IP address is used for subnetting. I'm not going in detail about this, but the subnetting is used in order to accept the request of if the subnetting is done for all the private devices, all the devices that we are going, that what we have to accept the request. From the subnetting done, the request gonna come, and the subnetting is used to specify the request from the particular server or device to all other devices. Like it's gonna be a node, and then from that all the requests gonna go to a particular device, the particular internet device. This is taken by the care of subnetting. And then if you see here, they have asked a name and description for the droplet that we are going to create. We can specify the name. Name is the mandatory thing, and the description is the optional thing. That like whether we can give a description or there is no need to give even description also in order to create a virtual private cloud. So we're gonna select here the recommended thing. We're gonna leave it as it is, and then we can give it a name and description. So we can even select the configure my own IP range too. If we click on that, then it's gonna ask the address range prefix. Here we have to provide here we have to provide the address range prefix from this, and then we are going to put here the network size. Here it was given 20 on default. With the help of this 20, we can get around 4,000 available addresses, 4,091, which is almost equal to 2 power 16 minus 1. If you do basic math, then we can get to know about this. Like, and then here about all available addresses tab is given, which on clicking will give all the available addresses that has been free in the DigitalOcean network. And then we have to select a name. The name can be either auto generated or we can change the name. If we click on the network size, it can be either 24 or 20 or 16. So if you are using IPv4, it contains 32 bits, and then here 20 is the default thing. So if these 20 bits are used to address the network, are used to identify the network, and the remaining bits out of 32, like 12, are used to specify the device. If we select 24, then the available addresses are very less, which is 32 minus 24, 2 power 8, which gives us 2 power 8 as 256, and minus 5 gives us 251 available addresses. And then if we're gonna select some X number, then 32 minus X bits are available in to identify the device. And these can be used as the addresses. In this way, the droplets can be created and can be used, and this can be communicated, and these are communicated in order to. So in this way, these droplets are used, and these can be communicated in order for the better function. So we can even learn more about the setting the IP ranges from the link that has been given here, and then, or else we can set the recommended IP range, which is by the DigitalOcean. And it has also suggested an alternative for the private IP address, or we can select the custom range where we can set the number of bits. And then if we select X bits for identifying the network, then 32 minus X bits are used to 32 minus X bits are used to identify particular device.